All right, grace and peace be multiplied unto you all. This is a spontaneous stream. We have a lot to cover. Some of you guys will fall in as you see the stream going. I know YouTube is notoriously bad at notifying people on streams, but I got to do this stream. Got a lot to talk about, got a lot of ground to cover. So let's get into it. First of all, Superman is on track to make $1 billion at the global box office. If you do recall, the trades and different different fans of James Gunn, they were talking about how Superman is going to make $1 billion in box office. John Campea, all the shills. Yeah, where does Superman sit at right now? 615 million, not a buck more. So at the end of the day, Superman has underperformed in any way, shape, or form that you could speak about. Okay, and we'll go into that in more detail. But first, I chose to use this headline because I wanted to laugh at it. I thought it was humorous. Um, you guys haven't seen me in a little while, and it's because I've been working today. I basically took the day off. I didn't plan on doing that, but I ended up taking the day off. So this ends up where we'll actually be doing a couple streams and so on. Um, Shout out to all the people who have been continuing the campaign to restore the Snyderverse. Big stuff, man. Congratulations on that to all of you. Shout out to Abdullah Omar, who is in Palestine. X has blocked my account. Please help me by commenting with 3 dots to break the algorithm. Got to show support to my Palestinian brother there. Everybody in Palestine has been going through some pure hell. And so, I feel for my Palestinian brothers and sisters, but I could see the world doing more and more with the flotilla, the stream of flotillas that are coming in. And we got some good news. So we're going to get into all of that when it comes to the Free Palestine part. But first, let's talk a little bit about restoring the Snyderverse. So we're mostly on Twitter today, but I may go elsewhere. Restore the Snyderverse, Zack Snyder's Justice League. This thread shows how popular the Snyderverse truly is. DC made 4.9 billion while Zack was there. After the flops, the Snyder's Justice League released, crashing servers, breaking streaming records all around the world. They're still making collectibles that sell constantly, and you'll see some of them, including Darkseid, Restore the Snyderverse. It's obviously, the Snyderverse is very popular, and on the heels of James Gunn's Superman movie, which flopped in the cinemas, we are seeing more and more now. More and more, we're seeing that people turn towards the Snyderverse and turn towards things like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. You know, so obviously the fans want more. They want something better. And once again, the shills and all the people who were trying to come up in war with Snyder fans, they've disappeared. They're not around anymore. We don't see them coming to try to say anything on the streets because obviously they were just there to promote a movie and try to make sure the Snyderverse doesn't return. This is basically what these shills are there about. And they're not really real things. They're corporate shills. Okay? So, we already know that the Snyderverse was very successful. I don't need to go into that in more detail. Regardless of what the critics were saying about the Snyderverse, it was a very successful thing, and it will only continue to be more and more successful. Shout out to Restore Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm going to intersperse my stream with Free Palestine stuff. So I'm going to be talking about the Snyderverse and then interchanging it at times with Free Palestine. So let's look at this.
Need to respect, if we're going to all get, you people need to play by the same rules as everybody else, or you need to get out. You need to respect our citizenship and not maintain a dual citizenship with Israel or a dual allegiance to Israel. You need to respect, if we're going to all get along and have a creedal identity, you need to respect that every other American is just as good as you and just as American as you, and you need to start seeing yourself as American. If you want to take advantage of American government, American public services, American schools, American healthcare, American markets, American consumers and investors, you need to start seeing yourself as American. He needs to start affording Americans the same respect, the same tolerance that they have afforded you. Otherwise, you need to get the fuck out of our country. It's un-American. This Jewish dual loyalty, this Jewish thing, it's un-American. By every metric, it's un-Christian, it's unfair, it's not right, it's un-American. And a serious country would rise up and say, you need to get out. And they say, without us, who would host your data? We'll find somebody. We'll find somebody. We'll find anybody. We'll find someone that is just loyal to America. And what happens one day when the police show up and they take you and they put you on a plane back over there and they confiscate your devices, your computers? Not so powerful now, huh? Let's see how good you do. All your education, all your smarts, all your chutzpah. Let's see how good you do over there by yourselves without taking advantage of us. I don't think it'll be the same, but I wish you well. I wish you the best. But this is not right. This is a foreign element. This is a foreign, hostile, alien element that has infiltrated our.
So that's Nick Fuentes. And yes, some of the things he says is blatantly racist. But Nick Fuentes is making a lot of sense when he talks. The thing about it is, it's by design. Israel's only an extension of America. It's an extension of the American ideals. You want to see what America is at its core. A racist, take people's stuff by force, bully people, take away people's freedoms, both within itself and outside, become a police state. You're talking about America. Israel is just a reflection of America. That's why America is backing Israel. That's why America will continue to give arms to Israel and continue to push for the genocide, because that's what America did. So Nick Fuentes is in some respects being very naive. It's not Israel leading America. It's America giving the green light to Israel to do whatever it wants because America's backing it, because it's an extension of America. And that's what a lot of people don't get. A lot of people live in America think, America is the land of the free and the good and true. No. It's the land of the white people. Okay, it's a land of white supremacists. And it's not even for white people. It's actually for elites. And no, it's not a free land. Okay, so Nick Fuentes doesn't really realize. Now, there are good intentioned people in America. There are people who have been deceived to think that they're good values and stuff. But America's an empire, and this empire plays by its own rules for its own benefit, for its own companies, for its own capitalists. Okay, if they can't outperform your country, or your country is becoming independent of them and not depending on them, they'll destroy your country. Okay, that's America for you. They have no allies. They really have no friends. And that's Israel too. Argentina stands with Palestine. Shout out to Argentina here. I think this is the best news I've heard of the day. So the flotilla, they were able to push fish into Gaza. So this guy, Yossab Hassan Youssef, said they only succeeded in doing is empowering terrorists, cloaking their crimes with hateful propaganda against Israel. They call it victory, but Gaza's children remain under Hamas blade. So Jimmy said, it definitely succeeded, even distracted Israel long enough for Palestinians to finally fish without getting targeted. So kindly sit this one out, Mossab Yassan Joseph, and go cash that $7,000 check for peddling nonsense. Yeah, what happened was, while they were busy, the Israeli ships trying to secure the flotillas, and more flotillas are on the way, by the way. It saved up enough time for the Palestinians to fish for fish with their nets. This is all biblical ways of fishing. You see how they catch it with their nets? This is how people in Bible times used to do that. That's for those of you who talk about Peter and they catching fish with their nets. This is the old way of fishing. And they were able to do that, so they were able to feed themselves. The boats didn't make it, but they still fed the people. So shout out to all the people on the flotilla. Some of you guys are in Israeli prisons still being treated very badly. But I will say this. Your flotillas are working. Keep it up. And these are people representative of all over the world. The people, power to the people as they do this. So the shout out to them. And we'll talk a little bit more about the people who need to secure, the nations that need to secure these people, etc. Quads News Network says an elderly Palestinian woman exhausted from walking long distance after being forcibly displaced by Israeli strikes in Gaza rests on the road under the scorching sun. She collapses. Poor thing. A human being, just like all of us. Just a human being like all of us. Israeli settlers are escorted by armed troops and heavy machinery storm Al-Khalil's, that's Hebron, Old City. Palestinians face curfew, movement bans, and shop closures under strict military control. So now they've gone from the West Bank now to Hebron. And now they are policing the Palestinians in Hebron. Mind you, a lot of these Palestinians are the original occupants of the ancient world. Okay. So now they're attacking Hebron. David Icke says, hallelujah, the pennies are dropping. The lesson? Keep speaking your truth no matter what abuse comes your way, and the world will eventually move to you, not you to it. MAGA is leaving their cult in droves, many realizing they've been massively suckered. Listen to this.
Going to expose that I was wrong about Trump and this entire administration. It started with the Epstein files and all the BS that surrounded that when Trump and his whole team ran on exposing that. Kash Patel, Bongino, we're going to expose that if they had the power, and they never did. Pam Bondi saying she had the files on her desk, she saw the videos, nothing. And now the icing on the cake for me is this whole Charlie Kirk assassination narrative. If you believe that crap, if you believe the stuff coming from the feds, if you believe the text messages, you're an idiot, because that whole thing is completely bunk. Has Fed operation cover up written all over it. I'm done. And when you start looking at the videos, when you start analyzing that front wound right here on his neck, that was an exit wound. He was shot from behind. He was not shot from the front. They're covering it up. It's a massive cover up. And I'm done with this whole administration. They're all frauds. Trump is a fraud. Vance is a fraud. He's in bed with Peter Thiel and Palantir, scooping up all of our data for an AI database system that's going to track and follow us every digital step we go. Pam Bondi, she's a fraud. Kash Patel's fraud. Bongino, a fraud. It was my mistake thinking that Trump and this new, young administration would do anything different than they had before. I was already clued in that any other election in my lifetime, presidential election, going back to my childhood, no matter who the candidate was, it was two sides of the same coin. Whoever won, we would have got the same result, right? So you go back, Al Gore would have got the same result. John McCain, same result. John Kerry, same result. Mitt Romney would have got the same result. And Kamala, I guarantee we would have had the same result. It doesn't matter. We got to wake up and realize that, as George Carlin said,
it's a big club and you ain't in it.
It is the elites versus the little people. It's not a left and right issue. Yeah, we can argue about different social and economic things, but when it comes down to it, it is a larger picture of an elite power structure that is subjugating us little people. It was in 2016.
I voted for Trump 3 times, okay? And since it's gotten to this pinnacle here in American culture, there is no more denying it, okay? We have been psyoped as American patriots, okay? They psyoped constitutionalists and people who value freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, all of it. Do you see how he just fed us bullshit this last time around. No more wars. We're going to release the Epstein files. We're going to drain the swamp. All of them fired. Like we were just watching another episode of The Apprentice. Yeah, that is 101 a psyop, guys. He has done he's done a 180. He's added on wars and continued current ones. He has not released the Epstein files. He nominated a DOJ to release it, and then they're fumbling. He knew they would. He knew who they are, okay? He installed them. But he wants to go and blame them. FBI, why are we even trusting the FBI? Why? Because his name is Kash Patel and he's a conservative, allegedly? Come on, guys. They're literally all, like, the most recent situation with Charlie Kirk being assassinated didn't tell you enough. They are lying to us. And all Trump wants to talk, Israel, Ukraine, but are you kidding me? I'm a 32-year-old mother. I just want to buy a fucking house. I want to have a good job where I don't have to turn around every fucking second and make sure that I'm not being recorded because I'm a Trump supporter. By the way, I got fired from my job for being a supporter of you, Trump. And you turn your fucking back on us. Psyop.
These people, these Jews, they are not Europeans. They are not like Europeans. These Jews.
He's pushing anti-Semitism, which is interesting. George Galloway, he says, truly unbelievable this. South Africa demands the release of Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandela, who was abducted in the global Samud flotilla. You got to understand, this is a global flotilla. So you fuck around and start messing around with these people all over the world, you waging war against the world. Because these are people from all over the world who are on these flotillas going into drop off aid to Gaza. They're literally through sheer volume about to true volume, just boat after boat after boat. They're just going to continue to relentlessly bombard the coast of Palestine, of Gaza, until aid gets to the Gaza people. Once they get on land, they're going to continue their trek to supply aid to the people of Gaza. And these people don't care if they lose their lives. They don't care, but they are from respective different countries of the world. Some of them are even Jewish people. So this shit is starting to go next level. The governments are going to look like assholes because they're not doing anything. And so, the boys club, so people, normal people like you and me are taking action and going on these flotillas, sacrificing their lives and limbs and reputation to get there to provide food. Hey, these are the true heroes. These are the people who need the Peace Award, the Nobel Prize. I love what they're doing, and keep it up.
Nation. So after 20 years of service in the military, yesterday I got pulled into an officer's office and counseled for posts that I have on my social media. During the counseling, they told me I'm under investigation as a threat to national security. And the proof they gave me are anti-Israel posts. When I joined the military, I took an allegiance to support the United States of America. I did not ever take an allegiance to support Israel. But yet, I am deemed a threat to national security because I do not support Israel. Since when does not supporting a foreign nation get a U.S. soldier investigated for being a threat to national security? So
it's getting real. It's getting real, ladies and gentlemen. The 6-year-old boy who remained under the rubble all night in Gaza, he made it safely and smiling. I see no one sharing, but if he was dead, everyone would share. Share positivity. Shout out to Mohammed Safa. Channel 12 citing the Insurance Institute, about 30,000 Israelis have been classified as suffering from mental disorders since October 7th. I know that a lot of the Israeli military are not active. They're not trying to go back to Gaza. A lot of people have left. A lot of people are traumatized by the shit that they have done. Too bad. A lot of Palestinians are traumatized as well. 1,152 soldiers are killed since October 7, 2023. I think it's a hell of a lot more than that. A woman was denied basic hygiene, essential medicine while on a period. Many stories here highlight the brutal treatment activists endure at the hands of the Israelis. These are the people on the flotilla. Listen to a little bit more on that.
Toilet between 10. So they bound our hands with cable ties in cells without drinking water. And we had to drink out of a tap that was producing brown water. There was one toilet between 10 people, not in a good condition, as you can imagine. No toilet paper. We're throwing people's medicine in the bin in front of them and laughing in their faces.
So there was that going on. Listen to...
Palestine because it is an issue. I am Chinese, but I stand with Palestine because it is an issue of humanity. I am Hindu, but I stand with Palestine because you don't need to be of a certain religion to differentiate between what is right and wrong. I am Malaysian, but I am not Malay because you don't have to be Malay to be able to help and save dying children and family in Gaza. It is not important what your race, religion, or nationality is. You just need to be human. The Summit Flotilla is a non-violent humanitarian mission to send aid and help to the people in Gaza. It is done in accordance with international law, but many of the participants on the flotilla have been captured by the IDF despite having a non-violent approach. I am here to demand the immediate release of those people from the flotillas captured by the IDF. Share this video so more people can stay educated about what is happening in Gaza. Don't ever stop talking about Palestine.
Very good. Here's some sheer numbers again. This is Morocco. That was at a football game, and they were singing for Palestine. 20,000 people wearing red flooded the streets of Amsterdam today. So in Amsterdam, they're also turned against their government and saying free Palestine. And crazy shit be happening up in the UK. While being arrested, the protesters cited a poem by 9-year-old Fatima Saidam, who was killed by Israel. And this is in, of course, the UK. Shout out to this. 131 airstrikes since the ceasefire plan was accepted, and Trump asked Israel to stop bombing. That's how much airstrikes has happened. Henry Cavill is Superman. Well, of course, Henry Cavill is Superman. Henry Cavill came out. Even the crusty grips we hired for the test got quiet. Everybody was heart attack serious. He was just the right energy. We're like, oh, he's Superman. That's what Superman looks like. Restore the Snyderverse. Let's just restore the Snyderverse. Zack Snyder Justice League guy. When your government has lost touch with humanity, Amsterdam. So I think it was 250,000 people came out in Amsterdam in protest for free Palestine, and so much to speak on here. Urgent. Scottish flotilla participant Yvonne Ridley is missing after being imprisoned by Israeli forces while on a humanitarian mission to Gaza. Yvonne Ridley has been held at the Ketzayat prison on hunger strike and denied her medication. She was due to be deported to Istanbul, but disappeared during the transfer. Her current whereabouts are unknown, and we're deeply concerned for her safety. Take action now by contracting the Foreign Office to demand that the government intervene immediately to ensure Yvonne's safe return. She's a Scottish lady. Her name is Yvonne Ridley, and I'm just putting it out there for social media to know. In the Middle East, desperate to keep his family off the streets with no money to buy rent, Mohammed Al-Nagla dug a cave by Gaza's sandy shores as a last resort. Never in my life did I imagine or think I would be in a place like this cave. Such a dark place, a scary place, he says. Restore, Zack Snyder Justice League says, Superman brought in half the audience that Man of Steel brought in. This was his response. It's actually hilarious at this point. He's talking about James Gunn. This video was removed from my personal YouTube channel for misinformation. Share it wide and far.
Relations that are at hand. When it was one flotilla, it was a nuisance. Then it's 10, and we have a crisis. Then it's 40, and now it's 400, and you have some that just left Malaysia and Turkey again. Now we have a full-blown crisis on our hands of how we're going to deal with this, the optics of it, the international relations that are at hand. And it was one act that was followed by another act, that was followed by another act, and slowly, it gains momentum, and it becomes something. Maybe you were just a brick for another brick after you. Maybe you weren't the point, but it was what was going to be built on top of you and after you and around you. One wave at a time, one dua at a time, one donation at a time, one stone at a time, one at a time, to where something gives, and then it all comes down bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.
Shout out to him, Dr. Omar Suleiman. This is the accuracy. We have Palestinian history, and then we have the history of Israel, which so far has been terrorism, propaganda, rape, and lies. This is true. Craig Murray says this authoritarian Starmer Zionist regime is more threatening than any development in the UK. The UK arrests journalist Sarah Wilkinson after Israeli abduction. Sarah Wilkinson was arrested in the moment she landed in Britain, days after being kidnapped and detained by Israel during the global Samud flotilla.
Took so many weeks. Sarah Wilkinson, and I'm from the UK, and I'm semi-retired, but I'm working free for Palestine as a journalist. It was quite amazing being actually part of the flotilla. I've never sailed before. I don't really have much boating experience, and the incredible bonding that took place on this huge journey that took so many weeks was a really important facet. And we talked about motivation and mobilization and getting to Gaza, and the strength and the resilience of people was incredible. The sea was not necessarily our friend at all times. People got ill. They didn't leave the boats. They stayed on. They wanted to get to Gaza no matter what. And so we faced bad weather. We faced difficulties getting along on such tiny boats. But we did it, and I learned to sail. This is immense for me. It's so important now for ordinary people to rise up and to join any mission that helps the people of Gaza in any way. And the fact that our governments won't do it means it's down to us. And if we have to make the sacrifice and put our bodies on the line, it's appalling that ordinary people are having to learn to sail to help people that are starving, that are being starved to death by the Israeli regime in this day and age. And my colleague's right when he says never again. Never again has meant absolutely nothing. So for everybody, even if it isn't a flotilla, whatever it is, it's up to people of every country now to come forward and to join any sort of mission that can do what they can to really raise awareness and to actually help facilitate the survival of the Palestinians.
This is heroic. These are people that need the Nobel Prize. They arrested her. They've been targeting her for the longest while. And she's doing the right thing. And they have arrested a lot of people in the UK. It's been very Gestapo. And we're seeing it now in America as well with the immigrants there and people who question anything. They're trying to move very authoritarian. That's because the narrative is lost. They've lost already. Israel's lost this battle of propaganda. The Zionists have lost the battle of propaganda and so on. They're trying to control social media right now by buying it out. They as you know, they've tried to buy a TikTok and all these other things. And they think by buying it out, they can control it. But they're going to learn very soon that all they're doing is pushing the average person away from them. And people are learning they don't need governments. They don't need policing. They don't need a lot of things. And they're going to just do without them. And I'm already over my government. My government isn't worth shit. I mean, at least the Prime Minister of Barbados, she's gutsy and she actually speaks the truth. My government right now with my Prime Minister is just an asshole. And I'm beginning to realize most of these politicians are just assholes. They're not useful for anyone. They don't help anyone. A lot of things that we have and benefits we have in my country is a result of governments long before, from several decades before they put in place those things. If it was up to these present regimes that came down the bucket, we would have none of these things. We'd be living in absolute poverty, and they would be living in corrupt wealth. So, fuck all these governments as far as I'm concerned. No disrespect to any person who's striving to do something that's meaningful and good that may be associated with these governments, but most of them they're just jokers. They're pieces of shit. We could go on with life without them. In fact, we have been carrying on life mostly without these governments anyway. So I just wanted to say that. Jeff Epstein says, shut the fuck up and look at this. Look at this, his face. That's a Palestinian child being kidnapped from bed in the middle of the night by Israeli soldiers. We're fucking failing as humans. It's not just the Palestinians, man. As Nick Fuentes said, and again, this guy's racist and everything, but, he's got some good points. Most of the problems in the world are a result of Israel and the United States of America. They have been causing all the problems in Latin America. They continue to cause problems with the very people that helped them to build their country. Immigrants have, for years built America. In fact, America was built on the backs of slaves. They got their wealth off of slavery. So these fucking Americans, man, these fucking, not the American people, but the fucking people who are running America right now, they can fuck off as far as I'm concerned. They could go fuck themselves. And I can say this because I don't even have to have respect for them. I do respect offices and stuff, but even the whole system that's put in place, it's shit. The system that we abide on in the world today is also shit. And, I'm beginning to see through all these illusions and realizing how much, how full of shit everything is. And, we as people could do a better job amongst our own selves, having no racism or anything, working hand in hand with love for one another without these systems in place. And being an entrepreneur, being a businessman, I'm learning it's all about just dealing with your neighbor and your person, being a good neighbor to your neighbor, loving your neighbor as yourself. For all the bullshit that they did to the Bible. And the Bible is very corrupted in the sense that, there's a lot of things eliminated. Of course, there's interpretations that are bullshit interpretations that these men have corrupted. The genuine interpretations of them, the translations have fucked up some things too. But at the end of the day, for all of that, the Bible has really some great attributes and some great lessons you can be taught in it. And, the truth is, though, the real gospel comes from Africa. It comes from the Eastern countries, what we call Palestine today, and it goes along the lines of what the essence of the Bible really is and what we have to take from the Bible. But it also adds a lot more. There's a lot more to learn and to know and to grow in. And so, and these fuckers, man, what they continuously do is they try to erase the past. They try to erase the truth about history. And the reason why they want white supremacism is because they want to get rid of all morality, all human morality. And they want to go down this road of depravity because their master is Satan. Like, I kid you not, man. So it is what it is out here, man. It is what it is. And we need to be our brother's keeper. We need to look out for each other. And we stop playing these fucking politics, because the politics that they're talking about, the politics that we try to defend, it's nowhere near what we should be as citizens and as people deserving and also working towards. And I think that this divide and conquer thing has worked really well for a certain season, but that season's coming to an end, and people in the world are beginning to see through the bullshit. And we're going to strive for something better, and we will have to rebuild. We will have to forget about the systems that are put in place by this world, and we need to build something better that's actually something that is based on our humanity and strongly rooted in our humanity. We have an idea of what it is to be human and what it is to be humane towards each other. I think it is that we haven't pursued it vigorously. We've always been occupied with all kinds of shit that has no relevance to our basic humanity. We've been, spending most of our time either in jobs, working for people, and never really focusing on a fellow man. and focusing on humanity itself. You know, we're so tunnel visioned about what we need to execute in our individual lives, and that we have lost sight of a bigger picture for all of us and what makes us all similar, what makes us all, what are the common things that we share. I think the exchange has become my team versus your team instead of, wait a minute, what the fuck are we doing? We're all the same in the sense that we share the same space. We have desires. All of us have desires. All of us have aspirations. We would like to do this. We like to do that with ourselves. We all have gifts. We're all been born with predispositions to certain things that we if we stick with it, we'll be very good at it. And that's where our geniuses are. You know, a lot of times I was just talking to a good friend of mine who he's successful. He's got his PhD and everything in the field and area that actually he loves. And he raised something that's very true, and I elucidated it a little bit more, where he was talking about how, you know, we as people, you know, we spend a lot of time, and actually I can find it right now. Let me see if I can find it. I want to actually use exact words. Let me see if I can find it here. While we as human beings are a danger to each other because people ultimately feel they're smart and they can circumvent other people. Here we are. So my friend, he said this. Oh, he shared this with me. Listen to this. Apparently I can't. Well, let me summarize what was said. So, okay. He got rid of it. Okay. So he shared something from one of the, you know, I'm trying to remember what his name is right now. Hold on a second. I'll tell you who he is. Fuck. I just forgot his name. I drew a blank. His name's not Billy Ocean, dumbass. Why do I always mix up Billy Ocean with this guy? He's the guy that sang with Kenny Rogers. He was part of the Commodores. You just saw his face there. Hold on. I'll get him. Don't worry. I'll get him. Just hold on 1 second, all right? Shit. Commodores. Let's go back. Yes, these are members of the Lionel Richie. Okay. So Lionel Richie was talking about some people are just creatives, some people are academics, right? Some people are both. But he was talking about how, you know, when he went to school, he was happy to be in school, but he was like a C+ student. He was a C student. You know what I mean? He performed great in school. And if you look at most people, that's why I said academics is for some people, and some people academics are not for them. I've looked at some of the students I taught in secondary school. I remember myself also in secondary school. I'm talking about high school, that is, and university and stuff. And while I do use aspects of my degree, my chemistry today in my business, most people, and even I ended up in a field that had nothing to do with what I studied. And you'll find that a lot of academically inclined people today, they end up in fields and they end up doing things that have nothing to do with all those years that they were in university or in college or wherever they were. Now, my friend, whose name is Keith Kirk, he's got a PhD in music, but today he's more involved in business than he is in the musical aspect of it. He gives people advice on how to manage their careers and stuff like that in the business and in the music industry and the arts and stuff. But really and truly, he's more open-minded to so many things, and he has his PhD. And sometimes you ask yourself this question. So this is what Lionel Richie was saying. I always keep on thinking he's Billy Ocean. I don't know why. So there was this, actually, let me see if I can find it somewhere. It's on Facebook. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I would like him to articulate it because it was actually it was a great thing. And I don't know if I shared it or not. I can't remember. Let's see here. I think Keith shared it. And I tried to elaborate.
All right, racist. Let's GPS.
No, I didn't. But hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it here somewhere. Where would it be? I can't remember where I put it. Activity log, maybe. Let me see activity log. Your Facebook activity connections, ID preferences. You're taking to customize. Logged in information that meta logs about your activity and stuff. Okay, things like your location search. I can't remember. Facebook activity. Manage comments and reactions. Manage post. Activity you're tagged in. Say the items, collections, messages, groups, reels, stories, events, pages, navigation bags, poll, marketplace, shops, meta AI, gaming, fantasy games, live videos you've created, other activity, and other activity, other records, pokes, personal information, connections. I'm trying to find the video, if I could find the video, but it's gonna be kind of hard to do so. I would like to, but it's a bit hard to do so. Come on, stop fucking with me, man. Shit. Profile status archive. Maybe I don't know. It should be somewhere in activity log. Yeah, it should be. Likes, there you go. It's somewhere here. Comments and reactions. Posts. Information you posted. Activity you tagged in. I think, let me see this. Likes and reactions. There you go. Okay, hold on a second. Looking for it. I don't see it. So probably the post was deleted. Okay, so let me see if I could summarize it somehow. So he was talking about him being in school, and he was a C student, and school never really appealed to him. I remember Marlon Williams talking about him going to school. He didn't care what grades it was. His thing was to get the whole class to laugh at whatever he said, whatever antics he put up. His thing was that, and he was focused on that. And the bottom line of this is this, because obviously Keith Kirk seemed to have removed the thing. The basic thing is that everyone in the world has a gift of some kind. And that gift that you have is not a gift for you. It's a gift for you to give to the world. And in you giving that gift to the world, what inevitably happens is you benefit of that gift because you yourself are blessed by it. It's not just the world being blessed by it, but you also are blessed by that gift. So everyone has a gift from God, and we should be encouraging young people to use their gifts for the world instead of trying to get them to conform to what society thinks they should be. A lot of times, people say, get a job or go to school, get a job, raise a family, and amass things for yourself. And that makes you successful. But really and truly, the focus should be on what we can give to the world. And that's where you get gifts. And people have multiple gifts. The problem is, and a lot of people don't understand this, there are spiritual gifts, yes, but there's also physical gifts. And how do you know what your gifting is? It's very simple. Your gifting is the thing that you find yourself going back to and spending most of your time, whether you call it spare time or whatever, doing. For example, usually we call your gift your hobby. Your gifting lies in your hobby. Your hobby is something you're going to do regardless if you get paid for it or not. Your hobby is something you're going to fall back on regardless of how many hours you have to put into it. Time flies when you're doing this thing. And that's your gifting. That's where you belong. Now, some people have multiple hobbies. Some people have multiple things that they do that stimulate them. I'll tell you a couple things about gifting so that people will get the idea. And for the person who says, I don't have no gifting, that's bullshit. I could prove it. Every human being has been blessed on this planet with gifting. There is something you have to offer to the world that only you can do in your own way. I am someone who obviously I'm doing streams and I constantly share knowledge and I have fun sharing knowledge and I constantly always go back to knowledge and I always like to go and look at things and learn new things and knowledge is my thing, right? That's part of my gifting. My other gifting obviously is music, right? I can go for 8 hours straight, haven't drank anything, haven't slept, haven't moved from one spot. I'm just doing music, right? So these are gifts. Now, we call them hobbies, but really and truly, they're the things that help you to shape the world, help you to impact the world, help you to change. My older brother, his thing is machines. You know, my older brother fixing machines and stuff, he does it. This is not something that is, it may be, stressful to him at times and taxing, but it's something he's going to go to and he's going to do, whether he's getting paid for it or not paid for it, or he's going to do it. It's just what he is. This is who he is. This is part of himself. That's his gifting, and he thrives in it. He does very well in it because that's his thing. Okay? Every human being on this earth, I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's cooking. I don't care if it's talking to people, and you're just good at that, and getting people to see what you're saying. Whether it is you have a gift of you're somebody who knits things, or you're somebody who's great with your hands and you can build anything. You don't even need to see a blueprint on how to build something. You just watch the thing and you can build it. There are people with different gifts. That's what I'm saying. Everybody has some genius in them that has been dormant. And when you just go with the cookie cutter bullshit that this world has you do, oh, go get this job, go do this, you got to go to school, blah, blah, blah. And you're not spending time honing your gifts, honing your craft, perfecting the gifting that you have, perfecting the thing that you're here to serve the world with. It's the thing that you never think is taxing when you do it. It never makes you tired. It fuels you. It makes you more of who you are. Instead of spending time on that, you're spending time on stuff that has nothing to do with that, and frustrating yourself and provoking yourself into a compressed version of yourself, a smaller version of yourself. You're not who you are. You're not 100% what you should be. You're 20%, 10%, 2%, 3%, 1% of what you should be. Because you do not dwell in the space, in the place you should be at. And okay, we could say, as you're coming along in life, you're trying to find yourself. You never had someone to really direct you and guide you to make life seem simple, because the thing that you're doing fuels what you will be and fuels the way life is and your perspective on life and how you see life and all of that, the truths that you find out of life and all of this stuff. The truth is, and I've been saying this for a long time and I will continue to say it, as you get older, you know more and more who you are, and you find out what it is that you should have been doing all along. And for some young people, they go from job to job to job. Some people, they get hired to do one thing, then they leave that job. They get hired to do another thing, and they leave that job, and they hire. You keep on job hopping because you don't understand where you should really be, where you should be dwelling in. You hear a lot of actors say that, successful actors say, I don't go to work. I do what I love. I'm going to tell you this. Your gifting is something you love to do. Your gifting is something you love to do. My neighbor right next door, who's talking on the phone, he does what he loves to do in terms of his hobby. His hobby drives him. He's a happy guy because he gets to do something he likes to do all the time. I'll tell you another thing. My deceased neighbor on my left, he was in his heyday. He was in his element because he got to do what he loved to do. When you do what you love to do, my friends, it's different to doing what you think you have to do. What you think you have to do is a chore. It's hard. When you will be working 3, 4, 5, 6 times harder on what you love to do, and you don't feel tired because you love to do it. And that you love to do, you put that little oomph into that thing for the world, and people feel that love you have for that thing and feel the love you have for them, because you're not going to hate people if you're doing what you love to do. You're going to want to, and of course you want to share it with other people. So this is the point. So Keith is doing what he loves to do. And all of us in this world have something like that. We may not have discovered it yet. It's hidden inside of us, but all of us have that. I can tell you that I live a very happy life. I'm a very happy guy in that I do what I want to do, and I also do what I love to do. I am driven by my passion to do things, and so this is what helps you to be able to see life for what it is. If you're just hustling all the time and you're going through traffic and you're hustling to take care of kids and you're hustling to do this, you never have the time to do anything else. You're constantly going, but you're not really being effectual like you should be, because most of the time you have negative energy in you that you have to overcome to keep going, to keep doing what you have to do and not what you love to do. You see, I'm not saying that everything in life requires discipline. But I'm saying to you, when you look at what you want to do as a career for the rest of your life, I know of a lot of unhappy people who make millions of dollars, okay? But they're unhappy because their mother and their father said you had to do this. But really and truly, they want to do something totally different with their lives. And when you put that in perspective, which life would you prefer? You're a multi-millionaire doing something you really don't want to do. Or you're somebody who gets by, has a decent life, but you're doing something that you love to do. And as a result of that, everybody around you is affected by that. So that because you love to do what you love to do, they get that same desire when they're around you to want to do things that they love to do. Or even just be around you because they like your energy, right? These are the things you have to think about when you're talking about gifting. You see, I say all of this to say a lot of people put a lot of emphasis and a lot of they put a lot of thought into security, right? I want to secure my future. I want to secure my children. I want to secure but the way how the world works, you cannot really secure anything in this life, right? The only thing you can secure are things that directly relate to you and your character and, your attributes, your qualities of yourself. This is really what you can secure because you have control over that. You don't really have control over anyone or anything or any place, as much as we would like to feel that way. Given particular scenarios, that control is gone. given the right situations, that control is gone. But over yourself and how you carry yourself and how you treat people, you have control over that. That's the only thing you probably have control over. Even your own children, you really don't have control over them in terms of what they will turn out to be and who they will be as people. You don't really have that control. You could try to, create an atmosphere and create an environment where, they choose to go a certain direction, but obviously they have their own minds and they have their own path to walk. And you can only do so much. You really don't have the control over what people decide to choose to do with their lives or what they choose to do with anything. So what I'm trying to say is that if you don't have control over these things, why do you waste time trying to, and I don't understand the lying, the cheating, the stealing, the trying to one up people to amass things that still don't make you happy. They may make you comfortable, but they don't make you happy. They don't keep you alive. They don't sustain you. You're doing all these dirty, nasty things to people to amass stuff. No matter what you do, you're going to leave it at some point because you have to die. Why not amass qualities and attributes and skill sets and stuff that you can take with you when you die? Particularly the qualities. If you do rise again, you rise with those attributes and qualities in you, or you leave behind these attributes and qualities that other people can pick up and build on. I don't get it, but it is what it is. So we still are sort of, to this day, we still focus on material things, and we not focused on spiritual things. Your gifting is to highlight the spiritual aspects of whatever it is you're expressing, right? Ultimately, in the end, what people need to fuel them and to sustain them and to make them happy are spiritual things. Because you do something that you love, that spiritual aspect of it, the pouring of love into that thing, is what keeps you and sustains you. It sounds strange that something you're giving off is actually sustaining you. And this is why, there's the old biblical saying, it's better to give than to receive. When you start giving, that's when you really start living. The more you can share of yourself is the more you're free to fill yourself with more material to share again. This is why I always advocate teaching people things, not for the sake of just the people you're teaching, but also for yourself, for you to be fuller, for you to grow as a person. Now, if you're teaching people the wrong stuff, that could be detrimental. But at the end of the day, it's always good to learn something so you can pass on something to somebody else. We were talking recently yesterday about the kingdom and passing on stuff to other people to help them along their way, because information is everything, right? And as much as I stumble and fall and all that, I do have things that I can pass on to other brothers and sisters. And I try to do it. And I don't do it perfectly, but I try and do it. And similarly, other brothers and sisters will pass on things to me. And it was really nice having to hook up with a sister and a brother yesterday. And we were talking about, various things that could be done still. And the whole point behind it is that, when it comes down to it, my friends, when it comes down to it, it's all about what gifting you have to give to the world. If you use, and that's the whole point behind use your gifts and all that. Another word for gifting is your genius, what you're good at, or what you're naturally inclined towards. You may not be good at it, but you're naturally inclined towards it, right? And you have to develop yourself in it. And I'm telling you, man, if you spend that time investing in things that you are naturally inclined to do, what we call, again, your hobbies, make your hobby a profession, that's where you really go somewhere. Anyways, let's get back to it. I'm sharing these videos, and I know people watch my videos, so let's get back into what we have to be talking about. So my passion, of course, is restore the Snyderverse, and we have some headway in there. Justice Restore, Zack Snyder Justice League in IMAX says, Yes, release Zack Snyder's Justice League in IMAX the way it was intended to be seen, justice restored, and I am totally for that. Brian Berkman says, Zack Snyder's Justice League IMAX release, let's get that going. That was 23 hours ago on social media. Here is the Fight Back podcast saying the Syrian chemical gas attacks were fake. Even Tulsi Gabbard used to admit that. And here we go.
Whistleblowers.
Yeah, they said the gas attack in Syria was fake. You said that was fake by us. I think you were one of the early people that recovered that. It was fake by us. And then,
the OPCW whistleblowers revealed that. Mm-hmm. Yes, and then Aaron Mate did meticulous reporting on that, and he also testified in front of the UN. Of course, but
people don't know what we're talking about. Is that in Syria they faked a gas attack to try to get Trump to do a regime change.
Yes,
Trump came in and bombed him, but he didn't do the regime change. Luckily,
right. So he bombed soft targets. Put it that way. He didn't.
They tried blaming the Assad government, but it was really like, I really don't know who it was, but it wasn't them. Or I don't think it was even gas even used, right? It was like fake gas.
It was, no, I think there was a lot of speculation that the people were dead before they had placed those gas bombs, and they weren't dropped from helicopter. Anyway, it was all.
I read the report a while ago. I remember reading it. It was completely faked.
Yeah, it was completely faked, and
and that still says a conspiracy theory on your Wikipedia. Isn't that insane?
That's all they can do is just. Look what they say about Julian Assange, right?
Yeah, right.
That Julian Assange never had to retract anything. Mm-hmm. So, that's unfortunate. If you go against the deep state, if you go against the war machine, that's their first line of defense is to slander and discredit you.
You said they're attacking your YouTube now too. Before we started filming, they're going after your YouTube, saying you're like disinformation, but really you're spreading things that are true.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really wild. Did you also see? I don't know if this report's correct, but I saw allegedly North Korea was sending 12,000 troops to Ukraine to help Russia. Like, hopefully that's not true, but that means we're getting close to World War III if this is true. That seems like a big deal to me if that's true.
That seems like a big deal because North Korea has a nuke, right?
Yeah, they have a nuke, and it just shows that means they're looking at us like, there's these alliances coming together, these military alliances, Iran and Russia for obvious reasons. Because
there's BRICS, right? So that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and is that South Africa?
Yeah.
Is that what the
BRICS is to cut the dollar out? Is that what that is?
Yeah, so that's a new economic power.
So that's going to hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt our dollar.
Because the United States keeps you. So the United States, a dollar is the reserve currency of the world, which then gives us props up our economy. It props up our dollar. But what we shouldn't do is then weaponize it. But so every time we put a sanction on a country, that's weaponizing the dollar. Mm-hmm. And so it makes people resentful, and it makes people like, well, why should we have to live with this? So that's why, and that's a big reason why they killed Gaddafi and overthrew Libya, because he was starting his own currency for Africa called the dinar. And then we would lose our control over them. So right now, if a country in Africa wants to trade with another country in Africa, they have to take their money, change it into US dollars, and then trade with. So that they're like, why should we have to do this? Why don't we have our own currency? And so they were gonna, and then the United States war machine realized that we would lose our control by sanctions, and so they got rid of them.
Yeah, Gaddafi is interesting because I didn't follow any politics for years because I was laser focused on fighting. And I remember a couple years ago I went down that rabbit hole. I started reading about him. He seemed like a pretty good. Yeah, he had all these free subsidies. It helped
everybody had health care. Everybody had free education, including college. Everybody had housing. He created what they called the eighth wonder of the world, where he turned deserts into farmland. He did this water system, which we, by the way, then bombed with nuclear depleted uranium tip bombs. Mm-hmm. So now it's all poison. We are the world's terrorists. I hate to keep saying that, but it's true.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen that's true. And with him, they bombed him and go, "Oops, that was an accident. We didn't mean to bomb your convoy." And then they raped him with a bayonet. It's just so ridiculous.
And Barack Obama said, "Yep, that was a mistake. That was a mistake." Yeah. Libya. That was a mistake.
Yeah, they accidentally bombed him, and look at Libya now. That's where all the refugees are coming through.
Benjamin Felix Jones did that. Benjamin Felix Jones was responsible for Libya.
Yeah, he accidentally killed Gaddafi and destroyed a country and caused a refugee crisis. Oops, it's crazy to get away with this.
But they wanted a refugee crisis. They wanted it. So whatever I don't know what the real plan is. I know what some of the plan is to flood Western countries with illegal immigration. And that's not to hate the illegal immigrant, because what we've done is destroyed their country, like Libya, Iraq, and made them Syria, and made them desperate, right? Or like we're doing to Venezuela, like in Haiti and other places like that. And so
But it's definitely to suppress wages, create chaos, turn workers against even poorer people, so we don't come together and oppose the oligarchy. Chaos always favors the establishment.
I couldn't agree more. Like I said, don't hate the people, because of course they'd want to come here.
I would want to come here.
Yeah, but we're the ones destroying the land, making them come here.
Yes.
And like, we just can't afford to have them. Like I said, we're giving them free healthcare, free benefits, and it's creating divide. It's pissing people off. It's causing anger.
That's why
it's just intentional to divide us.
It's so sad to see Elon Musk push the propaganda about Venezuela over and over at the top of his lungs. Hey, let Venezuela figure out their own fault. Why do we got to go try to figure out their? We don't need to put sanction on them, and it's the only reason we're involved there is because they have natural resources we want to steal. They have more oil in Venezuela than they do in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I was unaware of that. I actually interviewed your friend Jackson Hinkle a couple of days after he got back from Venezuela, and he was explaining that to me. It was really interesting, because I saw he was down there and I was unsure, so I had him explain the situation. I didn't realize he had all that oil. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yes.
Seeing Elon Musk involved in that, yeah, it was really disappointing. It's like, was that deliberate or was it accidental? Probably deliberate. I doubt Elon's making those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, no, he knows what he's doing. So he wants to steal something. Maybe there's lithium there because he's got the batteries, and maybe there's Bolivia. He said it on Twitter. Hey, we'll coup anybody we want.
Yeah, so
he's also a psychopath, and he just happens to care about free speech a little bit more than the regular billionaire.
Yeah, no, he's been better than free speech, so I can't
totally
hate on him. Yeah, he's not great. I know people are still getting banned like crazy, but he's been a lot better.
It's a lot better. Yeah.
I mean, they're still demonetizing a lot of people. I'm demonetized and whatnot. But
Israel, they're going to call terrorist supporter, so they could be excluded from open society by being fired, sued, deported, defunded, expelled, ostracized. And the Trump administration is implementing that plan. It is being implemented by the authors who wrote it, who now work in the State Department of this government. I mean, what else do you call that other than cancel culture? We're going to exclude them from society. We're going to cancel them. Remember 3 years ago when Ye said, who invented cancel culture? Jews. And then he was canceled for saying that by the Jews. Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League, which is dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism, who called up Adidas and got his multi-billion-dollar Adidas Yeezy brand terminated. And Ari Emanuel, who now owns the UFC, who now owns one of the major talent agencies, who fired Ye from his talent agency and got everybody else in the music industry in Hollywood to stop working with him. Like, this is what's been going on for a very long time. These are just facts. Inconvenient they may be, the implications may be terrifying. This is coming from the New York Times, the paper of record of the United States of America. The next time somebody says, oh, the Jews have this conspiracy.
And there it is. I'm not going to lie. Nick being on point with some of this stuff. Now listen to this. As we already realized, the Zionist that's associated with Israel, they're right now trying to control speech on TikTok. They bought off TikTok. They bought out Paramount. Most of the CEOs of these big Hollywood corporations are Jewish, and they have dual citizenship or they have allegiance to Israel. So, like I said before, you can see that actually all these stuff that we were talking about, the bank are controlled by Jews, the entertainment industry controlled by Jews, intelligence agencies, Jews are controlling that, whether it's the CIA or Mossad. You can see quite thoroughly that this is not anti-Semitic to say these things about these people. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be fearless. You have to be fearless about what you're saying about these people now. I really don't have time for, as I said before, bullshit, right? And when we say Jews, we're not talking about the real Jews. The real Jews are black, okay? But we are talking about these Ashkenazi Jews, these Europeans, who some of them don't even have lineage that goes back to the Holy Land. They are Turkish Caucasian descendants that have been converts. They actually have been converted to converted as Jews, and they claim that they have some sort of stake in the Holy Land when they don't. So it's like the fake Jews are talking about anti-Semitism, whereas they are torturing and killing the real Jews, which the real Jews don't look like the fake Jews. It's kind of like talking about the real Egyptians are black. The Egyptians that now are in Egypt, the Arabs that are in Egypt, they have replaced the black people in Egypt. But Egypt were the original people of Egypt were black. And it's so much. The original Europeans were black, and so on and so on and so on. So it's like, when you really start to go down the line of these things and you begin to find out the truth about stuff, even the truth of the Bible and all these other sacred books and Islam and all this stuff, when you start to break it down and realize there's a lot of horse shit out there, man. And that people have erased a lot of history and they've burned a lot of history and they've destroyed a lot. And you look at how the West behaves. How if you are trying to be self-sufficient, you're trying to be independent of their network of people, because they control the governments and everything in the different countries. If you want to be outside of their network, they're going to destroy you. They're going to try and get regime change. They're going to try and destroy your country. They're going to put sanctions on you. You have to be dependent on them in some way, shape, or form. So this is the network of things that's going on out here. This is the bullshit that's going on. I can guarantee you this, though. A lot of people's eyes are opening to the nonsense that's going on in the world. All right, let's keep it going. Like we said, Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandela, he was abducted in the global Samud flotilla, and they're calling for his release. Francesca Albanese says, this is not the first genocide that happens under our watch. It's the first genocide that we, the people, can and will stop against all odds and adversities. So the people in the different flotillas and so on and all over the world, we're talking about millions and millions and millions of people all over the world are standing up. This is not covering, mainstream media is not covering any of this. This is 30% of the population in Amsterdam. About 250,000 people flood the streets of the city wearing red in solidarity with Palestine. Look how much people. Okay. This is not being covered, obviously, on mainstream media at all. But there's a lot of, all in the world, there's a lot of people who are protesting this, and they're also speaking out for Palestine. But it's just that it's not making the news. Okay? Because the news, they don't want you to know this stuff. A new flotilla, Freedom Flotilla Conscience, is just days away from breaking the siege. So they're also heading towards Palestine. There are a lot of flotillas out there, so the Israeli forces have not been able to contain all of them. And so one flotilla, he's actually broken the siege, and he's very close to reaching the shores of Palestine. Here's the breakdown on it.
You're anti-Semitic for not supporting Israel. Bullshit. If you don't like Iran's government, does that mean that you hate Middle Easterners? If you don't like Canada's government, does that mean you hate Canadians? How come the only country in the world where that applies to is Israel? How come they get all these special rules? How come they have all these special exemptions? How come when we criticize something that a known motherfucking tyrant, one of the most evil men on the fucking planet, who has been for 30 or 40 fucking years, and we criticize him and all of a sudden we hate all the Jews? That's total bullshit. This motherfucker, the rest of the world hates him, and we're standing up for him. So what's that mean the rest of the world thinks of you and I and everybody here? They don't realize that most people in America don't support this motherfucker. They think we're part of the problem. Don't let them gaslight you into making you feel like you're being some sort of bigot or racist or anti-Semite by criticizing the decisions of this man. He wouldn't need that defense mechanism if he was doing things right. He wouldn't need to protect himself with these all-in terms of anti-Semitic or God's chosen people or all that. Bro, fuck you and your chosen people shit. You ain't any better than anybody else. We're all fucking same.
Yep. Kim Jong-un's sister says the truly free are those who feel the suffering of Palestine. You know, they talking about, you know, Kim Jong-un sending troops with Russia, you know, to fight Ukraine. But why not? You know what I'm saying? Why not? Why not fight for Palestine? You know what I'm saying? U.S. State Department official Stacey Gilbert quit her 20-year career over a report. She said it was falsified to absolve Israel of war crimes and justify continued U.S. weapons sales to Israel. Listen to it.
I was shocked to see. Do you remember what you wrote in your resignation email?
I said that report will haunt us. And it does. And it haunts me. The determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance is patently, demonstrably false. In April, Stacey Gilbert was asked for her input on a Biden administration report on whether Israel was committing war crimes in Gaza. I was shocked to see that it said in very clear terms, it is our determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance. You had advised that that wasn't the case. Is that correct? Yes. The subject matter experts were removed and the report was moved up to a higher level. We were told you will see the report when it is released publicly. And then the report comes out and just doesn't include what you had to say? I wasn't sure I read that correctly. I read it again and I sent an email then that I would resign as a result of that. Do you remember?
Leaders of today are direct, they're not at all the servants of God, they're direct, with some noble exceptions. There are always noble exceptions. But when you're talking about the Jews, you're talking about in general. In general, they go along with their leaders who want the New World Order and who want to get rid of the old Christian world order. Islam has also been, it came into existence in the 600s and the 7th century. It was very possibly, or probably, created by Jews in order as an instrument against Christendom. And then, sure enough, the Arabs swept through North Africa and destroyed a whole part of Christianity in North Africa. They swept into Spain, thanks to the help of the Jews. It's well known that the Jews opened the cities to the Mohammedans. They took over Spain, and it took hundreds of years to get rid of them again, to get them back out. They went up into France until they got beaten at the Battle of Poitiers in 732. And again in European history, the Saracens, the Turks, the Arabs, the Muslims, there's various names for them, they've kept trying to get into, they're enemies of Christendom, they're enemies of Christian Europe, and they've tried to get into Europe again and again, and the Jews will each time, most likely, the Jews will have helped them, will have organized it, will have financed it. That's exactly what we see this time. It's George Soros who's been financing the Arab invasion. They've been organizing, and you have that famous clip on TV of Barbara Spector, the Swedish Jewess. It's a very famous clip, and with good reason. And she's apparently ignorant of what she's saying. She says, we Jews need to organize the invasion of Europe by non-Christians so that Europe will become multicultural. Multiculti is an invention of the Jews, surely. And therefore, and that will act to dissolve the identity and vestigial Christianity of the once Christian nations and of the dilution of the once Christian white race. And once the Jews can dissolve the once Christian nations and can dilute the once white race by miscegenation, by mixing the races, by marriage with other races, once they can do that, they're going to be a significant step closer to achieving their New World Order.
Talk about the woke right. And he said, I call it the woke.
Now, I don't completely agree with him in terms of the white race. Christianity is not about white race or anything like that, but it's funny. him saying that, seeing that they had the Crusades, and they also swept through the world and conquered different nations and people. But the point I'm making is he's right about one thing. They tried to pit Islam against Christianity, but it's backfiring because Islam and Christianity, they're coming together. All of these things are Masonic structures. So Christianity, as it is today, is a Masonic structure, Masonic order. Islam, the same thing. Certain forms of Buddhism, the same thing. Or political system or religious systems are mostly Masonic. They're all patterned after the Kabbalah system, and it all comes back to the Jews. So I'm not saying all Jews are like that. Absolutely not. I'm talking about the Zionist Jews particularly. These are the architects behind these things, no doubt about that. And yes, all these people, these Zionists, worship Satan. They don't worship anything else. And they're in every single facet of our society. And that's why I keep on telling you guys, work with what your gifting is. When you work in your gifting, you're able to see things other people can't. And also, you're able to contribute in a constructive way. If people operated in their gifting, they wouldn't need these governmental organizations. They wouldn't need these structures, these Masonic structures. We wouldn't be depending on the kinds of man-made religion we have today. We would mostly be sharing with one another. We'd bypass all those things. The flotillas, for example, are an alternative way, nonviolent way of humanity imposing themselves onto tyrants. And let's say, for instance, Israel starts to gun down all these flotillas that are going in there, starts to kill them. Now they're affecting people from all over the world because we have people who families are represented by governments and so on. And that is an act of war. Eventually, at some point, it's an act of war against all these different nations. Now, it may be a world war that starts because of this, but what I'm saying is we're on the side of humanity, and that's the important thing. These flotillas are on the side of humanity. And it's not much of, it doesn't take much. I know Italy had an escort for the flotillas. I think Italy right now, I need to go ahead and speed up and show you guys what's really going on here. So, yes, the Spaniards in Spain are destroying, right now they're destroying all the pro-Israel brands in Spain, destroying Coca-Cola and McDonald's as well. So the Spaniards are targeting pro-Israel brands after the global Samud flotilla detainees confirmed that Israeli soldiers brought back products funding their army, including Coca-Cola and McDonald's, and consumed in front of flotilla members while mocking boycott campaigns. So it's clear to me now that the people in Spain, you're going to see what's happening. It's the uprising also in Italy. And the police and the military have joined in with that. So let me get to that. This Palestine protester in the UK is actually angry. He's not afraid of arrest or anything. The uproar and the outrage, the thing about it is they don't realize Palestine is just the open door to Congo, Sudan, Somalia, the unrest in Libya. You know, all of these are African countries where Israel has had a role and a part to play in their destruction and in the unrest that's happening there. So I'm glad that we're getting attention on Palestine, but we also have to think of Sudan, Congo, Somalia, and we have to take action to make sure that these countries and nations are also taken care of, because this stuff doesn't even make the media. This stuff doesn't even make front page news. And we know there are black people in these countries that we're talking about here. You know, the Palestinians, at least you could say they're brown people, but they're really black people, but nonetheless, they're brown people. But when you think about the black people and what they've been going through as well, and they're still going through, it's by extension, it needs to be noted. And also how the surrounding African nations have been doing nothing to deal with those situations as well. So I just wanted to put that all out there, okay? To see the average person riling up and doing what they're doing is just exceptionally great. Israel just carried out an airstrike on a car in a residential neighborhood in Lebanon, violating Security Council Resolution SCR 1701 ceasefire agreement and international law with absolutely no consequences. This is another war crime and the ICC remains silent. Yeah. Listen to what this lady has to say.
Hands, they have faces. Learn the Israelis are not human. They have hands, they have faces. but they are not one of us. They are monsters. They took out our water. They took away food. We were 37 miles from Gaza. I could see Gaza. Next time, we can do it, inshallah. Next time. And the Israelis did not have enough vessels to stop us. So I saw it. I saw Gaza.
Yep. Howard Beckett says someone was holding a sign, "I do not support the proscription of Palestinian action," and was arrested in the UK. This lady's been arrested. So they're arresting people for holding signs. That's how crazy it is out there. And it shows that they're losing the narrative. They're losing to the people. And now's the time, guys, to just put your foot on the accelerator, share numbers, keep the numbers up, get bold, let them see that their laws are shit. They have shitty laws. Let them see that we're not afraid of them. It's time to stand up and keep on moving. And I'm really proud of all these people all over the world. Average, common people like you and me. Some of them come from rich backgrounds and they're still stepping up to the plate. They don't give a fuck anymore because they realize that this bullshit is bullshit. That our governments don't work for us. That our police don't work for us. That the system that we have is just bullshit. It's control us. We've been on a fucking plantation for all this time and we're thinking that we're free. You know, they've got us entertained with sports to distract us from all the atrocities that they're doing in the dark. Fuck these people, I say. Fuck them all. So that's how I feel about it. And I don't give a fuck what anybody else has to say. Because if you really cared about the people and you really cared about their best interests, you wouldn't be getting them crumbs and have them going to work all the time and occupied with shit that really they shouldn't be occupied with. Nobody taught the people the truth. Nobody's ever taught the people the truth. You go to school to get educated and you get miseducated every fucking day. Every fucking day. You're doing things that you don't have any for. You're not going to use later on in your life. Most people. Now, the people who, again, it's their hobby to learn. It's their hobby to know more. The people who are thirsty for knowledge, they'll go even beyond what they're being taught in the classroom. But the point is, most people don't have that fucking gifting. They should be building on what their gifting is. You learn how to go to work. You learn how to have potty times. It's like they're fucking training you to be a fucking dog and to be loyal to the system. That's what the fuck they're doing. And this system is not even the system of the country you're fucking in. It's a fucking colonial fucking system from somebody thousands of miles away from you. They're still fucking controlling you. And you fall into line like a fucking slave. You don't question shit. Oh, we're being educated. Oh yeah, the best our country has, we get to go to universities across there and study. Who gives a fuck about that? When you come back to your home country, how good are you really? You didn't learn anything about your own fucking country that you live in. Your education should be about where you are. Anyways, man, when you realize how much bullshit we really live in, it's something, man. It's just something. You know, it doesn't take much thinking. Think about it. Most of the stuff we use is imported. Or very raw materials. The stuff we use is imported. We have the equivalents in our own fucking countries. And we never use it because we've been indoctrinated to use the things that we use now. Think about what I'm saying. We belittle the things that we actually have to use the things that come from elsewhere. Is that the fucking education? Are we really fucking educated? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. The more I think about it, it's the more I get angry because we've been hoodwinked. We've been fooled into buying into a system that isn't even native to us. It's a fucking foreign system to us. Anyways, now we're seeing the truth. Now we're realizing, oh shit, we bought into something that does not benefit us. It's going to harm us in the end. It's going to destroy us if we don't stand up and do something about it. Something horribly wrong with the system we're in. It's just horribly wrong. A lot of people put up with it, but there's something wrong with it. And the sooner we get back to first principles, it's the way we can course correct ourselves. I'm just saying. Trump says, if I end, and you know, the more our leaders behave like idiots, it's the more we realize how idiotic the system really is. It's the more we realize how stupid the system really is and how much we really don't need it. We don't need the system. We put up with it, but it doesn't work for us. And there are some of us who are better off than others of us, and we make excuses for what is impending, what is coming to us. You cannot stick your head in the sand anymore. It's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse unless you do something about it. What you're seeing in Palestine, it could be a reality in a not too distant future for all of us. We have to do something about it. And mind you, the movies have already foreshadowed what the world is going to look like. So it's time we wake the fuck up and we do something about it. That's all I'm saying. We are being targeted. A rocket was fired at us here in this place. An Israeli drone. We are broadcasting the scenes. We're being directly targeted by a drone. This is the drone right here, the quadcopter. Come here, Anas. This is what's happening right now.
I believe that the nation of Israel is a cursed nation. Let's play a little game. Who can tell me who's been kicked out of 109 countries for their predatory lending practices, clipping coins, blasphemy and hatred towards the Lord Jesus Christ? It wasn't Mexicans. It's not Brazilians. It's not Russians. It's the Jews. Let me say this. This is why 1948 is a complete fraud. It's nonsense. It's a fairy tale. No, brother, that's a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, but God brought them back into the land. Sit down, shut up. Wait another double cheeseburger. Brother, God didn't know. Brought them back into the land, 1948. Ben Gurion, Satan, not God. The Rothschilds, not God. But Israel, in my opinion, is a cursed nation. And we see that over the last 2,000 years. No, it's because they're being persecuted for, being God's chosen people. No, they're being persecuted because they're wicked. Let's call a spade a spade. Why don't you go ahead and look at the history? Folks, Pastor Anderson has been kicked, I don't know how many countries he's been kicked out of. He's been kicked out of a lot of countries. He's banned from a lot of countries. But why? I'll tell you why. Because he preaches the gospel. Because he preaches the word of God. Are they being kicked out because they're preaching the word of God? Are they being excommunicated from nations over the last 2,000 years because they exalt Christ? Because they exalt the word of God? Because they're winning people to Christ? I'll tell you why. It's because they hate Jesus Christ. It's a curse upon them.
So all over my feed right now is just how October 7th is coming up and how Christians and Americans need to put Israeli flags out in front of their houses and churches in order to say that we stand with Israel. I'm here to tell you, not. Absolutely not. I don't give a fuck about Israel. Don't care about October 7th, to be quite frank with you. People keep saying that Hamas created the conflict. No, the conflict created Hamas. Hamas would not exist if it wasn't for Israelis raping and pillaging and stealing Palestinian land, Palestinian homes, kicking them out, living under apartheid rule, treating them like second, third class citizens. Maybe Hamas wouldn't exist, and maybe they wouldn't have attacked you if you hadn't been subjugating these people for so fucking long. Have you ever thought about that? Not a popular stance, but I stand by it. I'm also done with these Israeli nonprofit organizations that are paying churches to push this shit to their congregation, and the leaders of these congregations should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that in Israel they put out American flags in front of their synagogues on the memorial of 9/11, or the memorial of the USS Liberty Tax, or the memorial, and go on down the line? Absolutely fucking not. They don't give a shit about us. We're just a money pit to them.
And there you go. Vox says, meanwhile, this Israel thinks of Christians.
And Easter.
Conservative Christian leaders are calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop a bill proposed by members of his coalition to make it criminal to tell people about Jesus in Israel. Our Jerusalem correspondent Daniel Cohen is live near Tel Aviv with more. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Allison. Good morning, everyone. A big story just before, days before Palm Sunday, Good Friday, and Easter. Sacred time for Christians. Two ultra-Orthodox members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition have introduced a bill that would punish believers for sharing the gospel of Jesus with prison time. United Torah Judaism Knesset members Moshe Gafni and Yaakov Asher introduced legislation last week making it illegal to share in conversation or produce content online, in print, or by mail. Their explanation of the bill emphasizes a warning to stop Christians in particular. The punishment, 1 year in prison or 2 years for sharing with someone under the age of 18. Joel Rosenberg is the host of the Rosenberg Report and editor-in-chief of All Israel News. He's also a Jewish follower of Jesus.
Obviously, Jewish people don't agree with Christians, evangelicals or others, about who Jesus is, right? We all know that there's a theological difference, but evangelical Christians and other Christians have been so supportive of Israel and the Jewish people. So to silence, to muzzle, and gag even Israelis like myself and others to say, you can't talk to another person about your faith and why you believe it, that is terrible. That is not freedom.
Although he doesn't agree theologically, Netanyahu has always been a strong friend of evangelicals, speaking at meetings and believing freedom of speech and freedom for Israel's small Christian community should be protected. Now, should this bill gain traction, it could spark a serious clash with the 60 million evangelicals in the United States and 600 million around the world. Gafni first introduced a ban on evangelism in 1999. It went nowhere. United Torah Judaism is in a stronger negotiating position now, though, since Netanyahu needs to keep the party in his coalition, or it could threaten Netanyahu's ability to remain in power. Allison, back to you.
Daniel Cohen, thank you so much.
Now listen to Greta Thunberg.
Going on a mass starvation committed by Israel's murder machine. Keep your eyes on Gaza. We have global media reporting about this mission. Where is global media when it comes to reporting about the hell they're going through in this genocide? Where is global media when it comes to holding war criminals to account? When it comes to defending their journalist colleagues who are being systematically targeted and killed, risking their lives, reporting about the situation in Gaza? This genocide is being enabled and fueled by our governments, our institutions, our companies, our elected officials who are supposed to represent us. End your complicity. Everyone, end your complicity in this genocide. Be human. No one is free until Palestine is free.
אבל אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי. ארצות הברית זה לא
מקשה אחת, אבל אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי. ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת, זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת, גדולי הפרשנים. אמריקה לא תכפה לנו דבר, אם לא נבל.
The right answer is
So who controls? So you see that he was bragging that they have control over the Congress and the Senate back in the 1980s. Way. Listen to this gentleman.
There will never be peace in the world if Zionists are allowed to be in power. That goes for Netanyahu or any other fucking whack job Zio, okay? Not just the Middle East, but there will never be peace in the world. And I think a lot of us are going to realize this.
Trump's former spiritual leader, pedophile Robert Morris, being led away in handcuffs after being sentenced to only 6 months in prison for sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl. Pedophilia has been on the rise. And also, I heard, I think it was, actually, I'll show you guys something. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz talked about how they need to be easier on pedophiles. And I saw a clip of Ted Cruz mishandling a young girl. That's the kind of shit that's going on out here, bro. All leaders are pedophiles. I mean, I gotta say this. The truth's now starting to come out, but a lot of our leaders, man, involved in a lot of evil stuff, man. Some sicko wacko stuff, you know what I'm saying? And oh man, I can't even start. In Israel, Haredi anti-Zionist Jews confront Israeli far-right minister Itamar Ben-Gvir in a Jerusalem neighborhood, calling him a killer. Listen. So they calling him a killer.
Semitic, you must be anti-Semitic if you dare criticize a nation dropping bombs on children. We are allowed to defend ourselves. We have a right to self-defense. Against children? What are you defending against? Why are you bombing kids? Oh, they might grow up one day and throw pebbles at the prison fence you erected around them on their land? If you're so much into self-defense, where was your self-defense on October 7th? Was the stand-down orders October 7th? Better be careful asking that question. Ask questions, folks. Expose the lies. If Israel has nothing to hide, if Israel's not built on lie after lie after lie, if Netanyahu's not lying, they have nothing to fear. They wouldn't need censorship. They wouldn't need anti-Semitism laws, would they? They'd be perfectly able to defend themselves in honest debate.
Hamas says it will not lay down arms till the establishment of Palestinian independent state. Shout out to Hamas. The Israeli soldiers who attacked Samud flotilla peed themselves on board. Tunisia captain Mohammed Ali Moeddin, captain of the Amsterdam ship and Samud flotilla. After the Navy soldiers and officers took control of the ship, couldn't operate the engine. When I intervened to start it, the alarm siren went off automatically. The ship began to move. One soldier panicked and another wet himself out of fear. I realized this is a cardboard army. We are afraid of an army of illusion. Israel is just an illusion, a spider's web. Yeah, most of the people who are doing anything effective in Israel are Americans. They were part of the American army. So the people with dual citizenship that's working for Israel, they're mostly Americans. That's what's holding up the Israelis. They don't want shit. Henry Cavill's Superman, Man of Steel behind the scenes, restore the Snyderverse. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, We are still pushing for restore the Snyderverse. Greta Thunberg, she continues here.
To be a long video, but I have a lot to say, so bear with me. And we are now many who are safe and released from imprisonment and absurd mistreatment, but many of our comrades from Global Summit Flotilla are not, and they need to be released now. But most importantly, we are not the story. Thousands of Palestinians are currently being held in Israeli dungeons without a trial, hundreds of which are children. Millions are living trapped under an illegal siege in an apartheid state in occupation, who are being systematically starved and bombed to pieces. Basic societal infrastructure is being targeted and destroyed, and Palestinians are being systematically deprived of their very basic rights and means to survive, such as producing their own food, controlling their own territorial waters, and children being able to go to school. And the whole world knows that this did not start on October the 7th, 2023. And these Israeli war crimes have happened with impunity and with help and legitimizations from our governments, institutions, and media. And this is the story here that people should be focusing on. Do not let me and other volunteers on the flotilla be a distraction. And the Global Summit Flotilla is about solidarity with Palestinians, international solidarity. And what Israel did was mainly not to illegally abduct us in international waters and abuse us in prison, but it was that it stopped a humanitarian mission and violating international law by preventing humanitarian aid from entering Gaza, a population that are being systematically starved by Israel. And this is a blatant violation of international humanitarian and maritime law. And I also want to make it very clear that our imprisonment by Israel is a direct result of our governments. They keep talking about the importance of upholding human rights and international law and to get aid into Gaza. And then when we do their job, trying to do just that while being completely peaceful and abiding by international law, they fail to ensure our safety. And this mission should not have to exist. It is a last resort when all means fall short and when those in power fail to step up and do the bare minimum. States have a legal obligation to end their complicity in genocide, which the UN Commission now also has confirmed that it is. And this current lack of willingness to do so is a crime against humanity. Israel does not have immunity from international law, even though it might seem like it from their genocidal propaganda. No human being is worth more than any other, and that also applies to Israelis. It's absurd that this even has to be said. And just to have it said once again, of course, we are not running errands for Hamas, nor are we terrorists. Israel thinks they can get away with only recycling their old arguments and smear campaigns to justify their atrocities without addressing the evidence of them committing a genocide. But the world sees through their desperate lies. Terrorism is defined as the calculated act of using violence to incite fear in a population for political control. Is that really what this peaceful humanitarian mission carrying food, medicine, baby formula in line with international law was doing? One can really ask who the real terrorist is here. And I stand by what I have said and stood for since I became an activist at the age of 13. I will continue to fight for a free world, a world free of all forms of oppression and racism, where we put human and planetary well-being over short-term economic profit and geopolitical control for a few. And that might sound naive, but I would any day choose being seen as naive over having double standards and not doing anything in the face of injustice. And I urge everyone to join the global uprising for justice, freedom, and equality, and to apply real pressure on our governments and institutions to fulfill their legal obligations to ensure human rights for everyone. We have truth, morale, international law, justice, love, history, solidarity of the world, as well as basic fucking common sense on our side. The war criminals have hate, lies, and weapons. Justice will prevail. Free Palestine.
Yep. Good stuff.
My name's Luca. I'm the daughter of Juliet Lamont, who was part of the Global Summit Flotilla and is currently being held hostage by the genocidal state of Israel. We received a concerning report from DFAT about Mum's health, and she's not receiving critical medication along with other hostages. This could be life-threatening. Mum and other hostages are being physically abused, psychologically tortured, denied water and food. It is insane to think that someone like my mum, who is the most compassionate documentary filmmaker, who always seeks to tell the truth and is the most loving person that I know, is being stripped of her legal and human rights. This is just a sliver of what the Palestinian people are going through. There are still over 10,000 Palestinians held captive by the genocidal state of Israel. We need to use our privilege to mobilize, to escalate, and we must sanction Israel now. This flotilla has exposed the lengths that the genocidal state will go in order to continue their colonial war crimes and inhumane treatment of innocent human beings. The Australian Labor government has failed Mum and other Australian humanitarians by not adhering to Australians' obligation under international law or their recently announced commitment to humanitarianism. Albanese and DFAT have left us hanging. We've heard nothing about Mum. Albanese and Penny Wong haven't even said a word. Albanese, where are you?
When you start to see the Israeli military shooting unarmed people, including children, does anyone talk about this at night? Like, I can't believe what we're watching.
Yes, and in fact, this contractor, he's walking next to me and he says clearly, it's in the conversation of the video, it shouldn't be this way. We shouldn't be doing this. It didn't have.
So we know it's a poppy show right now. The UN's like a poppy show that we can't actually take seriously, even though there's a lot of good people working in the UN. The United Nations now has become a place of inaction. Danny Hayphone says, Van Jones is always trash, a mouthpiece for the elite. The liberal warmonger, the mask is off. You know, he laughed on the graves of mass murdered Palestinian children, but his apology blamed Iran and Qatar for showing it. I'd say boycott Van Jones, but who actually watches his shit? Hold on 1 second.
Everybody knows that
TikTok is now censoring posts that mention AIPAC influence in the U.S.
Israel is prosecuting a genocide in Gaza.
There's some people that are asking for your help. Former Pakistan MP imprisoned Imran Khan says Israel is behind all the evils happening around the world. I do agree. Israel and the U.S. are behind most of the evils happening in the world. That includes human trafficking. That includes the drug trade. That includes arms dealerships and so on. Yes, these people are just super corrupt. But Europe also has a part in that.
Of Israeli detention, along with one other U.S. citizen, Mo, a Marine Corps veteran. As far as the rest of the U.S. delegation, we're not really tracking what's going on. In terms of other delegates who have been released, we're not really sure either. In the prison are kind of what you'd expect from a terror gulag. Basically, no showers, food scarcity. A lot of people are on hunger strike. Protest to them withholding insulin from some of our detainees. And yeah, we were told there are no doctors for animals. We were told that, they're going to try to get the rest of us out in 24 to 48 hours, but there is no transparency. None of us has seen lawyers. They're not following their own rules for self-deportation. You're supposed to be out of the country in 24, 72 hours. That hasn't happened. I think the only reason I was released is because some of the pressure from my own local representatives in Texas. So we need to keep pushing and fighting to get the other people released. This is insane. And also, I would remind everybody that everything that happened here is 1/10, maybe less, probably less, than what Palestinians go through in extrajudicial detention in Israeli terror prisons. Only here because I had the privilege and luxury of getting shuffled on at the last second to a Slovakian charter flight arranged by that government to get me out of the country. This entire process is insane. There's a lot of bureaucratic
courage.
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
So Cori Bush, she's coming back to take AIPAC down. She's going back into elections. The AIPAC funded guy can't answer questions in the community. I think the community is beginning to trust Cori Bush. She's been doing her campaign in the background. So she's coming back to get her seat in Congress. So that's good for her. I'm glad for that. She would be proper representation when it comes to that. Shout out to, look at this, man. Infinity Studio does Dark Side, and this is why I said the Snyderverse is in demand. They're still making Dark Side scopes because people keep on buying it up. To say Dark Side was only in Zack Snyder's Justice League for less than 5 minutes, and they sure do keep making collectibles that will sell out fast. Just restore the Snyderverse already. Dark Side Infinity Studio. Check it out, y'all.
So,
breaking.
Yeah, I started to get these types of...
Israel cracked down on Instagram. After TikTok, Instagram is now undergoing mass censorship. Israel and Zionism are not compatible to the West. They're cancer to it. Our freedom of speech is being stolen by them piece by piece.
Notifications. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. There's no way it doesn't. Are you kidding me?
This is all my recent uploads, right?
The ones that I
posted through the Instagram edit feature. Look at the trend.
Deployed a brand new unit, the Navy SEALs, to tear up, make...
Breaking. Tucker Carlson argues that Netanyahu is openly and actively meddling in U.S. politics to the detriment of both countries. That is 100% correct. Zack Snyder's Justice League IMAX release. Let's get that rolling. Being one of the few people who has seen it in IMAX is truly one-of-a-kind experience. Love or hate it, everyone deserves the opportunity to see it in IMAX. I agree. Brian Berkman, I'm with you on that one. Henry Cavill's the best Superman, yep. Make the Batfleck movie. Liberal South Carolina judge Diane Goonstein's home is burning to the ground after explosion. SLED is investigating as arson and referred attack as Judge Goldstein was receiving multiple threats. The husband of former state senator is in the hospital. So now they're getting desperate and they're starting to bomb houses of judges. I guess they're using drones to do that. Listen to Khabib.
Forget about this. When Ireland, they were starving. Don't forget about this. Of course, today is like 2025, right? Yes, today is different time. But long time ago, couple hundred years ago, Ireland was starving, and Ottoman Empire, what it was including Palestine too, they were sending boats with food for them. They was supporting Ireland when they were starving. Our brothers, they have this problem, starving, everything. And now Ireland give them back. And they support our brothers in Palestine. They don't act like other countries.
The curse of knowing too much. Here's the truth no one talks about. Intelligence can ruin your life, not because you're wrong, but because you see too much. You notice the fake smiles, you hear the lies under their compliments. You see the cracks in the system, the flaws in people, and the games they play to survive. You outgrow conversations, you can't enjoy the party, because your brain's analyzing the why behind every word spoken. And that ruins the magic. Most people get to live in blissful ignorance. You're cursed with clarity. And here's the twisted part. The smarter you are, the lonelier it gets, because surface level doesn't stimulate you. And real depth, that scares people away. So what do? You pretend, you shrink, you play dumb to fit in. But deep down you know, This world wasn't built for people like you. It was built to reward those who don't ask why. So if you feel out of place, you're not broken. You're just awake in a world that's asleep. And that, my friend, is both your burden and your power.
Arab civilization ended up giving you zero, algebra, algorithms, astronomy as we know it. It affected our language. Sugar, zero, cipher, zenith, nadir, admiral, apricot. Those are all Arabic words. Algebra. And somehow we've written the Arab world out of our history. They're the guys who figured out that all objects in the universe exert gravity 600 years before Newton stated it. In fact, the guy who came up with that, Ibn al-Haytham, who was an Arab from Iraq, also stated the world's first ever scientific method 600 years before any European did. He stated Newton's first law of motion 600 years before Newton. He stated Kepler's first law of motion 500 years before Kepler. He's the guy who figured out the lens. I really like him. He's also the guy who made the world's first ever camera, the camera obscura. He's the guy who figured out you could break light into its constituent colors, that it traveled in waves, that it had a finite speed. He wrote 200 books, mostly on math. Ibn al-Sina, Persian, is the guy who founded modern medicine. He's the reason why we know to wash our hands, interrupt transmission vectors. Arabs.
Fly, son. It's time.
There's a lot I could talk about Africa and why it's the original people's African, and why the genetics of Africans is so superior to the genetics of every other race. The complete genome, the complete active genome is found in Black women. Black men are next. There's a lot of stuff, guys, that I really can't talk about right now. There's a lot of stuff. So tune in another time on another channel. I spent 2 hours on this. There's a lot more I would like to say, but I will say it some other time. But remember, Free Palestine is just the beginning. And God bless you all. If you love humanity, as I do, God bless you all.